Was Regina?
Okay.
Was Regina coming or no? No, because there's a lot of listen, all the RFP stuff's on. Is she coming?
We can't do anything.
We can talk. Roll call, please.
Mayor Santiago, Commissioner Ennis, Commissioner Precca-Compari,
Here.
Commissioner Sui.
Here.
We do not have a quorum. However, this is a work session, so we will not be taking any official action. So we can do some of the business at hand, I trust.
Do we not have to adjourn the meeting and then just?
Is it more proper to adjourn it, or
I
can we
think you
just
should adjourn
continue?
the meeting,
Okay.
And then you can just proceed if you want to after that.
Okay. You have to make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Precca-Compari,
Yes.
Commissioner Sui.
Yes.
So I guess the engineer is,
adjourned.
okay, and the engineer is here, so if he would like to give his report to us, we can see what's going on.
Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to give you the report. I apologize in advance because Brian Prohowich isn't here, wasn't able to attend. I'll do my best to update you on his projects. To start off with some good news, we're asking the Commission, or we were asking the Commission to award the wastewater upgrade project tonight, but I guess that'll be put on hold if we don't have a meeting this
Okay,
evening.
but if there's three of us, we can vote on that, correct, Brock? So that's okay, because
Yeah,
that's
as long
already
as it's not
bonded and all. So it's
a bond or a budget.
so it's just if the mayor comes. Okay.
Okay, and that was,
Maybe.
I'm sorry.
But is there a deadline though, Wayne? Do we need to call another meeting at another time, or can that wait for 2 weeks to be approved?
I guess it could wait.
What's
We could have a special meeting, I guess, if we wanted to go that route also.
Is there a time constraint? Is that necessary, or can it wait?
I don't think there's a time constraint. If we awarded tonight, it would be conditioned upon receiving final NJDEP approval anyway.
Okay.
So maybe it's not a bad thing to, if we don't do it this evening.
Because the approval can still go through without us.
Right.
Okay.
We had verbal approval from DEP. We're just waiting for the paperwork to come down from DEP. Also this evening, we're asking for authorization to advertise the Vine Street project because the governor's stop work order was lifted. So we'll have to, wait on that also if there's no meeting. One part of the work that's funded was 3rd Street. That's supposed to start tomorrow. Construction is supposed to begin on the inlet reconstructions. That contract was, there was a pre-construction meeting. Authorization was given to proceed, and they're moving forward with that project. That's because of the governor, gave us that authorization. So that's part of Brian's presentation. Also, I always like to tell the Commission about the hydrant readiness report for the city because there were so many past issues. We put 2 more hydrants back into service this week. Our percentage is way below 1%, so we're doing well with that. One thing, the Rhonda Drive drainage system, we always talk about that. We did get out there last week and do a test pit and opened the pipe up and did an internal inspection of a 36-inch pipe on Rhonda. And we found that there's some conditions in the pipe that are contributing to the flooding on Rhonda Drive and subsequent long-term issues out there. The pipe has pretty much no slope from the manhole behind the Maletta property out to Cedar Lane. The difference is, between 2 million gallons a day of flow and 40 million gallons a day of flow if we had a standard average slope on the pipe. So that's contributing to the backup on Rhonda Drive. I discussed it with Commissioner Sui. We're doing another review to see the best way to move forward, either to replace that pipe or to, do something different. So we're looking at that right now. Today, we had survey crews out there taking elevations of the outfall pipe. So that was an important discovery we found. I thought it was worth sharing with the Commission.
You're going to have to put a pipe there no matter what you do, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what other choice? There's not too many other
Well, the only
choices.
other option would be to construct another chamber on Rhonda and run the outfall straight down Rhonda Drive to the White Marsh that way. I think that's going to be much more costly than replacing the pipe.
Because it's longer. Right?
Longer. Also, there's pavement restoration that way, too. So I don't think that's really a valid option, but we did look at that. The 15th Street Public Works Facility, they're making progress on the perimeter fencing. They did paving out there this week for the gate areas. Right now they're in a shop drawing review process for fencing and the gate assemblies, so that project's moving forward. A lot of the work has been done by our own crews, a little bit of clearing and grading in preparation for the gates. The Buck Street sewer main, there's been no further progress on the lining. We're getting cost information from Serco on the lining, that the 21-inch VCP line on High Street. We're waiting for more information on that to move forward. And as I said in the last meeting, we did a lot of diligent review, and we did determine that the slip lining is the most appropriate way to repair that pipe. It won't disturb the businesses or disrupt traffic flow. The work will be done at night during shifts, other than probably start at 7 o'clock at night and work around the clock, just not to disturb the businesses. The wastewater treatment plant phase 2, we were asking for the award. We talked a little bit about that before the meeting started. I sent a recommendation letter to the commission asking that we award to Worth & Company for the low bid of $7,239,100, including the work of the alternate of constructing a walkway between the aeration tank, the south aeration tank, and the splitter box. The price for that work was $13,000, which was a very good price for that work. Millville Municipal Building roof repair. We did receive the warranties from Alpa Roofing and Garland. We're going through the warranties now, checking the lifespan of the warranties. Once I have gone through them, I'll forward them to Commissioner Suey and Mike McDowell that also give us input, and then we'll respond to the contractor. One thing on the contractor installer warranty, there was a limit on the wind speed that I was very concerned about. They limited their warranty to 55 mile an hour. Nowhere in our spec does it say that the warranty is 55 mile an hour on any of the warranty. The design wind speed was 105 mile an hour. So we're going to reach out to the roofing contractor to ask him how he came up with that wind speed. There's a no dollar limit. On the 6th floor roof replacement, there's a limited warranty on the resaturation, the roof area outside these windows, where they removed the gravel, resaturated it, reapplied the gravel. That has a limited warranty. The manufacturer's warranties looks like it's in line with the project specifications. It's just the installer warranty that seems to have some issues. But there is requirements that we have inspections done within so many years to maintain the warranty in effect. And we may have,
ran into that problem with the library.
Yeah.
Inspections.
we may have to pay for those inspections, but I think it'd be well worth it.
But you don't normally agree on a warranty prior to the job? Like, you're going through it now?
Yeah, what he's saying is the bid specs call for 105 miles an hour. For some reason, when the installers sent it, it only says 55 miles an hour. So we have to get that.
So it's good that you checked it then, because if it
Yeah.
wasn't checked, we wouldn't have known.
Well, it didn't specifically spell out in the warranty the 105 mile an hour, but the design of the roofing system was at 105 mile an hour. So we would assume that the warranty is, at least that, not at 55. So I don't know how they came up with that low number. I'll reach out to them and ask them that. Also, part of this work kind of ties into the curtain wall system. We did finalize the curtain wall sealant quantities. I sent them to Mike McDowell. I think he has pricing now on we have Sika Flex and Sika Seal sealants. He has pricing on that, and also on the ChemTreat 400 sealant for the masonry. So once we get the pricing in order, we'll get the sealants and start working probably off this third floor roof deck and up to get experience on sealing, and then once we get up further, we'll need the lift to finish the work. I don't know why I don't have my glasses on. I can't see anything. High Street paving, the survey crews have been out. They did all the handicap ramps. Right now they're working on the designs of each individual handicap ramp and putting those on the plans. Once they put all that information on the plans, we'll go out, and walk each ramp and come up with a final design, and that'll be actually part of the work to do that. So we are moving forward on the High Street project.
When do you think you'll actually get to the paving part? I'm just curious. Next summer?
At this point, I'd just be guessing, Commissioner. I don't want to guess.
Okay.
I'll come up with an estimate.
I just wondered. I was
Yeah.
curious.
On the Ware Avenue demolition project, I met with Gary Clark today. And also, Commissioner, he did pull 3 permits for 3 houses to start the demolition for 213, 712, and 714 Buck Street. He pulled 3
good.
permits today.
Good.
I met with him and the owner of Delphi, and we went through the asbestos documentation just to make sure to have everything. We reached out to the landfill where they did the disposal. We're trying to get a copy of the Waymaster slip just so we have a complete package for our records for the asbestos.
Good, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. The Four Seasons, there was the Torresdale leak in the crawl space. Brian Perhoch has been working with the owner and the contractor on trying to get that resolved. They're to the point now of regrading a small landscape area in front of the house. I know Brian's been corresponding with both of them, probably weekly.
But this wasn't a city issue, really, correct? It was the way the contractor.
Yeah, it's a construction issue that we kind of got a little involved in. In the future, I think we can be more diligent in reviewing grading plans for specific construction code requirements for slopes away from building corners. We're supposed to have 6 inches of fall in the first 10 feet, just to make sure that that's done. I think in some parts of the plan it did show that, in other parts it may not have shown that, and I don't think it was really picked up on, and then it got missed by the contractor in the field. But ultimately it's his responsibility to correct that kind of deficiency, and he is trying to work with the owner the best he can. South Millville water main replacement on Columbine, the contractors finished up the paving restoration today. The trench is done. That contract is essentially completed. All the services have been done. There are some old water main patches. There's 6 of them, approximately 30 feet by 8 feet. One at the intersection of Lafayette and Columbine that are outside the scope of the work of this project that we're going to try and see if we can take care of them under the patch program, if there's enough monies left in that program. I'll speak to you about that, Commissioner.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah. The road is in very poor condition, but I think if we patch these areas, that'll add to the lifespan somewhat. There's still 2 fire hydrants out there. The water utility will be removing. That was part of the contract. We put 2 new ones in, and our guys will be taking those last 2 out. And now comes the wastewater treatment plant. We have a lot to talk about there. On October 18th, we had an unusual incident at the plant. There's a Power Break 1 GE 1600 amp main breaker that feeds power to the blower control room and all the switchgear in the control room. That breaker tripped and went out on what we're thinking now, after discussing with a lot of people in the industry, is on a ground fault issue. The problem is, the more that you look into this event, is it's been an ongoing, persistent problem probably since 1992. I'm sure Joe knows the general industry standards, like once a breaker trips 50 times, that something's got to be done. There's probably some kind of issue. So we're looking into the breaker right now. I asked Ron Smith to come down and take a look at it. I gave him all the documentation. He's looking at the breaker right now. There is another breaker that's tripped somewhat frequently, an 800 amp breaker but not as often. It services the waste-activated sludge pump system. But that one isn't as critical as the blower control. Without blower controls, we can't meet NJDEP permit requirements.
And both of those are not part of the new upgrades, so you would do this on top of the upgrades?
Yeah, they're not part of the upgrade. Now, after Ron comes out and looks at it and gives us an opinion, we may want to consider doing it with the upgrade, but I think it would probably be more cost-effective to have, Ron do any of the work, because we'll be paying a higher rate through the contract, and we'll also have to go through AECOM, because they're the construction, the engineer that did the design. So we'd be paying them for the review. So let's wait and see what Ron's recommendation is, and then go from there. But the breakers are old. They're out of service. They don't make them anymore. They discontinued them in 2008, and all the existing stock has been depleted. I contacted GE, found all that out. They do make a retrofit. It's called a PB2, Power Brake 2 breaker, that won't exactly fit into the area, but if you modify the switchgear cabinet, they do make a new plate and shielding that allow it to go into the area. It's a big electrical job. It's not a small job, and it'll be very expensive. But at this point, if it's tripped that many times, you may have to replace the breaker. But let's wait to see what information we get from Deerfield Electric. But another part of that problem was there was a failure in the plant alarm system at the same time that this event happened. How many times this has coincided in the past, we really don't know. I just know about what happened now. The plant was probably offline for 9 or 10 hours. No alarms were reported. The operations people were thinking there wasn't a significant discharge to the river. They did call it into NJDEP, and there was a follow-up email to NJDEP. And also, part of that to consider is with the new plant upgrade, we have a $7 million contract. If we were to have any kind of problem in operations that caused a tank to be flooded or to delay the contract, or we open ourselves up to substantial construction claims, and claims, administration and the costs through AECOM would be, very high. I've done a lot of claim work when I worked at Cape May County MUA, and it drags on for years, and the litigation, it takes forever. So, in an effort to avoid that and any further discharges, we were recommending we go back to the 3 shifts that we used to have at the plant, operating the plant. The NJDEP recommends we have 3 shifts at our plant. We somehow got around that because of budgetary reasons from having a control system was supposed to take the place of the employees. But after reviewing all our records, there's been at least 7 incidents, probably since like 2012, where there's been malfunctions at the plant that weren't avoided because of the SCADA control system. Now other plants have the same SCADA control and the same backup control, but they maintain their plants round the clock. The Land and Sewerage Authority in Vineland has 4 men on every shift plus a shift supervisor for a plant that's only slightly larger than ours. So we're not talking about 4 people. We're talking about trying to cover the plant to make sure we don't have a problem or an issue that impacts, our discharge or the construction project.
How many people are on during the day?
Well, we have 12 people at the plant right now.
And
12
how many
people.
supervisors?
We have 2 supervisors right now.
And do they all, you need all 12 during the day shift? Can some of those be put on a different shift?
Well, that's what I'm trying to ascertain, and it's hard to get enough time to spend down there to see how many men do you really need during the day. Can we take some of those guys that are on during the day and with a few new guys to supplement, coming up with some kind of rotating shift? Joe, you know a lot about shift work. Maybe you could help us with that.
I'll be more than happy to help.
Yeah.
Commissioner allow me to.
But I guess you'll know better when you are down there more working
Right.
on the project, right? You'll
Yeah,
able
I'll
to
be
see.
there, and I'll spend more time there. I'll get to see how many guys exactly. I mean, at one point we had 24 people at the plant, and then through cutbacks we ended up with less than half, or at half, 12. So if we added a couple, we're nowhere near where we were before.
But if you had an alarm system that worked, that would be cheaper than having 2 employees on the night shifts plus a supervisor, because you're talking quite a bit of payroll.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right way to evaluate it.
Okay.
With the looming contract coming. Right, we're going to be taking whole tanks out of service. Right now, our plan is not running the way it should. We're operating the best we can to make it meet permit limits by maintaining our flows at about 2.5 million gallons. Once we get above 2.5 million gallons, we send our flow into a holding tank. We're using part of the plan as holding. And then we bleed that flow back in slowly during the evening to maintain permit limits. We're operating with a pilot ultraviolet disinfection system that is very small. It only has 2 banks. The flow rate is very low through it. The new plant will have 4-bank ultraviolet Trojan 3000 system that'll more than meet any requirements we have. We also have parts of the plant that haven't been repaired when they broke because of the project that was coming forward. Then when the project got held up, those components were never repaired. So they've been operating in a compromised way for a long time. So there's a lot of issues going on. And once we take a whole secondary clarifier out of service, we don't have the availability to, pump to that tank, which sometimes we do. So right now we're, operating the best way we can with the condition of the plant. So it's important, I guess the bottom line is it's important to make sure we do everything we can not to impact the contractor.
You know that, and the contracting work's gonna take about 15 months, right?
15 months.
Okay, so perhaps we could work a deal out with the Landis Sewage Authority or one of the other sewage authorities where we pay their people overtime, come and man our plant for half a shift or a shift or whatever they want. Because when you add in the cost of health benefits at $30,000 a year for a family, and maybe especially during the construction phase when we may not need those people afterwards, it may be cheaper to do that if we could reach out to them and try and maybe check into that.
Could you do it seasonal also? You could hire,
We don't have to worry about it if they're working for somebody else. We can just
They'd be
pay.
trained.
Yeah, you may need a shared services agreement with them.
That's something else to explore to save a ton of money. What's the point of hiring? We hire 6 people during construction, and when it's done, we have to lay 3 of them off.
Well, the way I was looking at it is that we really need the extra staff. I think a few years back I wasn't here at the time, but we got some kind of letter from the DEP, looking at our staffing and even suggesting that we're somewhat understaffed for our plant. I'll pull that letter out and share it with everybody. I'm sure you've probably seen it in the past. Every plant I ever worked at had, 3 shifts. When I worked at
I don't have a problem with doing the 3 shifts, but
Yeah.
I question whether we, I'm sure there's tasks that can be done on second and third shift that you're doing on first shift. So why can't you rearrange, people to do that rather than just have somebody sitting there monitoring the plant?
Well, I'll look at anything, try and save money, and I want to make sure that we're operating the best way we can, that we're protecting the river. There's a, wild, scenic, waterfront. We want to protect that. We want to make sure our employees are working safely, and we don't have issues that could drag into potential claims for years to come. So there's a lot of things to look at, and, I just really kind of all found out a lot of these issues in the past couple weeks, so trying to evaluate them the best we can. The one thing is to make sure that the breaker is safe. That's why I'm going to bring in a heavy industrial electrician to look at it and check everything out. They'll do MEG readings on it and try and isolate what's happening. It could be that it may not have been set up properly. We don't know. I mean, there's like 6 different settings on this kind of breaker, so we really need to be an expert to know how to reset it. So hopefully Deerfield will be able to do that. I didn't mean to go into so much detail, but it's a very,
Fine. I'd rather
very
know.
complicated situation. so.
Rather know.
The water plant operations, the crews are getting ready to take down the Bluebird Lane water storage tank. I'll probably try and do an inspection of that because that was one of the projects I was on during construction to work on building that tower, a 250,000 gallon elevated tank. So I want to see how the paint system's held up. We've done Tower Road and Coombs Road. Those Tower Road's been placed back into service. Coombs Road is filling back up now. We still have testing to do on that. I haven't been able to get enough time to go in those tanks. I'm trying to do as many as I can. But I'll report to the board on the Bluebird tank. From what I hear from the consultant who did the inspection, the paint systems seem to be holding up well. There's minor pitting and some corrosion issues, but the paint system's holding up well. Also at the Ware Avenue, we did put that fire hydrant back into service, the one that was hit by Delphi. They hit it when they were doing the demolition. That's been placed back into service now.
I thought we were taking that fire hydrant out.
Well, we did discuss, leaving it out, and the water utility, wanted to have that hydrant available at the plant there. The next closest one, I did talk to the fire chief, is at the corner of Ware and 47, and there's the one up here by the police building, I think. So it was kind of an area where they really needed one, and the fire chief said if you really don't want to put it in, you don't have to, but they decided to reinstall it. The Wheaton property, I don't have any update on that. I haven't really been involved in the past 2 weeks on that. The Marlin Terrace stormwater system, we're going to try and get out there to do that test pit at the end of Mr. Bruno's property to uncover that structure. So I'll be scheduling with the guys at Public Works, Mike or Joe, to take care of that. And if you recall, there was some kind of chamber constructed at the end of that 24-inch pipe where they changed the two 12-inch pipes, and they matched top of pipes, so that surcharges the Marlin Terrace stormwater system. So right off the back, it's already surcharged and can't work properly. I did speak to the last property owner, Eric Hitchner, and I'm going to meet him next week. He seemed very agreeable to the work we're doing out there. He mentioned that his wife really loves the trees and the woods and was kind of concerned about us cutting trees down. I mentioned, well, we could probably replant some of the trees, on the easement after we do the work. But I'll be meeting with him next week. And he did give us permission to do test pits on his property to locate the other 24-inch NJDOT outfall pipe. On the Field of Dreams Park, Brian's not here to give his report. He did send a report, I believe, to all the commissioners. That one of the remaining things to do out there is the sound test on the wall, the sound wall test. I've been speaking with Wayne Corignato. I went through and got the schedule of the last motocross races. There's only 2 more weekends where they have races. There's no races during the week, so the issue is getting someone to go out there on a Sunday, I guess, and do the sound test. So that's where we're at.
Now, I was told that he had to go with you to train you. Is that true?
I don't remember that discussion, but it's
Okay.
possible.
Can you just go and do it?
If I have the meter, I can go out there and get a sound reading.
And your engineering license covers it, correct?
Yeah, and I could ask Wayne, how the guidelines were to do the test. I think there was guidelines established by some kind of court order.
It's been over a year, and Mr. Carignato has gone out to do it or even thought about doing it, so I just have a fundamental problem with that. So I would prefer if someone else does it.
Okay, I'll take care of it. I think you need to get a test at each side of the wall. I don't know if we have 2 meters or 1 meter. I don't know what we have, but I'll find out.
The agreement, the law, I guess the court case agreement was the sound on the Bevan side
Okay.
can only be a certain amount, so that's in the lawsuit. I guess if he has a copy of that, it's the Citizen United lawsuit, then that would tell you what the standards have to be,
Yeah,
that they're expecting the sound wall to do.
okay. I'll go out there with my son Matt, we'll get sound readings. So,
Sounds like fun. It was very noisy. You should have gone this past weekend,
okay,
because there was a very big race, and it was very, very loud.
okay.
So,
I'll get the meter and I'll,
because I
try and
guess it
schedule
depends
that.
what the last 2 weekends are scheduled too, because I think that makes a difference.
I think there's a race like on Thanksgiving weekend maybe, or weekend before. I had the schedule, I don't remember. Oh, here, I have it written down, November 12th, November 13th. There are 2 Saturdays, and then the 26th and the 27th. So those two, they're the last 2 weekends. So I'll make arrangements to get that done. Now, I did speak to Commissioner Sui today about the discharge of water from the motorsports park through that culvert under Buck Shootum Road, and there were some concerns coming up that it may be exceeding that agreement of just a little bit over 8 cubic feet a second, so I'm going to be looking into that. I think the motorsports park approached Brian Prohowich about getting a reduction in their bond. I recommended to Brian that we give no reduction, that we hold that and evaluate what's going on. So in lieu of the information Commissioner Sui just told me today, that's the appropriate thing to do, not to release the money. I'll also speak to Dave Battistini because he was very involved in the design or redesign of the motorsports infiltration basin. So I'll touch base with Dave. The Manor Estate stormwater basins, I think Public Works has located a piece of equipment that'll expedite cleaning that basin out, right, Commissioner?
Yeah, it's kind of like an amphibious vehicle. It's pretty cool. So
Okay, when are we getting that?
we're gonna have to rent it. We're
Rent
gonna
it.
wait till the bond is available, which won't be till November 8th.
Okay,
So once November 8th gets here, we will proceed with that.
okay. We already talked a little bit about the 3rd Street reconstruction. That was a $446,583 project. It's scheduled to start tomorrow, reconstructing the inlets on the roadway. There was a pre-construction meeting that the police and traffic safety were all involved. So we're hoping to start that project tomorrow or the next day.
How big of an area of 3rd Street is it?
It goes from Broad Street to Route 49. It's a full depth mill and pave for that entire length. There's reconstructing a lot of sections of sidewalk, and all the stormwater inlets need to be reconditioned to have the new style state grates on them. Right now we have the older style grates. They had the big curb piece opening, which works very well, but all the litter and trash gets down in there, and it's a double-edged sword. It keeps the roadways dry, but when we opened up 10th and F Street to do the repair, Chris Finch sucked like 4 vac truck loads of trash and debris out of that storm line. So it is the right thing to do to retrofit the grates to stop the trash from going into the system. So that's part of the work. I think that's the end of my list, Commissioner.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just had one thing I was going to talk about, so I'll talk to you. I met with Schaefer Homes out at Four Seasons, and they would like to talk to the city about a pilot agreement.
Why would we give a pilot agreement to a residential area?
They have a whole because they can't sell the homes, they think they can sell them if they have a pilot.
Well, I'm sure they could sell them for taxes. But I'll listen.
So I don't know if you'd like them to come at a work session?
Oh, certainly.
Okay. Susan, so I guess if you want to set up Schaefer Homes to come to a work session, I have their contact information.
Sure.
And the only other, but nobody's going to know this, if we have a meeting tonight, on the agenda, there was just a mistake on one of the board and secure.
Okay.
So it's 17.6. It's just a small typo. They put down that it was a board and secure. It should have been a cleanup.
Okay.
because it was under the cleanup category, but then it said board and secure date, so that should say cleanup date under it. That was that.
Cut and clean then.
And then I didn't know if somebody can find out, there were adjustments on the tax utility. 210 Buck Street's the library, right? Is 210 the library?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm 211, yes. So 210 is the library, and they had an adjustment of $170,000 and $315,000 on their tax and utility record. So I wasn't sure how that happened or what that was for.
I don't know.
Because normally the adjustments are always $2 or $30. This one was 100 and some thousand. It just kind of jumped out at me.
I have anything, no, that wouldn't be that much.
So I don't know, that's 17.5.
We'll check into it.
Okay. They were the only questions I had.
You write that on my folder.
And I didn't know, there's a few people here in the audience. Anybody have anything they want to discuss?
I just
Sure.
have a quick question. Since
Sure.
the engineer's here. I live on Peach Drive. I was wondering what the status is on the finishing of that pipe.
Once, and again, once the 8th gets here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was
Yeah.
about to ask too, 'cause
Yeah,
I
so
know
that-
there's a date it gets rolled over. I didn't know what the plan was.
Yeah, and we'll finish.
I guess my only request is, because I walk my dog in the mornings, I use my wheelchair, can you just get the sand to the side? That would be awesome. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
We'll take care of that.
Okay, it makes it a lot easier, and I hate crossing Redwood with people leaving White Marsh
Yeah.
at 7:30 in the morning, so. Okay, cool, that's all I have.
Okay. And there's another question?
Yeah, regarding the proposals for a professional service contract, how long do they have to be advertised for review them?
I don't know. Regina's really good at following all the rules. I'm not sure.
Well, the ones that were scheduled for tonight,
Hmm.
they were requesting that they come back on the 22nd.
So if the,
If we don't have the meeting at 6:30, I mean, I can wait till 6:30 and address it again.
well, we can just, I'm sure she would extend it if that was the case, if we can't approve it, because it would be, the meeting, I think, is on Monday next time. It's on the 14th. So she would have to change it accordingly to match up with that. She's really good about all those details.
But if you recall, about a month ago, she was really trying to get this done sooner rather than later. If we postpone this for 2 more weeks, we're going to be in December. The staff is going to be vacation, I'm sure, and conflicts is going to run before the first of the year. Maybe we have a special meeting in between just to do that or something. I don't know.
That's what we did before. Special meeting.
Yeah, we can see if she thinks it's necessary, but you would just approve the RFPs, he's saying, and then that way get them out in time.
Yeah.
Because I know we wanted to run interviews this year too, so we're going to do things a little bit differently, and we set up a grid to calculate everything out. So, point system, so we're trying to do things so they were a little bit more above board. So the process might take a little bit longer, so we'll see. We can check with her on that. If she thinks, depending on what happens at 6:30, then we'll see what we need to do. Anybody else? Thank you for coming out.
And then we can talk to the gentleman
Yes.
over there.
So we can, I guess we can go, it will not be an official closed session, but we can talk in the back room.
Because there's only 2 commissioners, so we can take them into the conference room.
Okay, very good.